Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on Keep Running with BK. And we're going to continue our dialogue around 80-20 training, and more specifically, I'm going to share with you insights that I learned from my own 4-week base training phase so that perhaps you can learn from my experience and get the most out of your own training. And so stay tuned, we'll be right back right after this. Hey everyone, thanks again for supporting the channel here at Keep Running with BK, and today I'm really excited to share with you insights from my experience following Matt Fitzgerald's 10K training plan in his book 80-20 Training. And in a previous video I shared with you the different types of runs, what my specific training plan was going to be like. I even did a video where I took you on each of my runs that first week and just shared some of my initial impressions. And today I want to take some time to reflect back, really look at the 3 core types of workouts that I did during the 4-week base training phase, and share with you takeaways or insights, things that I learned that I want to share with you in hopes that you can learn from my experience, perhaps even get a better head start on your own training and not have to learn some of these same lessons. And so with no further ado, let's dive in, and we'll start with the foundation runs. So coming into this 80-20 training plan, I have been following the MAF or Maffetone training method, which really, as I've shared in previous videos, has taught me what easy running truly is and what easy running truly feels like. And that served me really well coming into this 80-20 training plan. You know, the 80 part of this style of training emphasizes easy running, and that translates to these foundation runs or even recovery runs later in the plan that you find in my training plan on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so I had pretty much had a good feel for what that should look like, what that should feel like, and that really went well. The one takeaway or insight that I gained was really around that zone 1, that first 5 minutes of each of these runs that not requires you, but you know, those first 5 minutes are intended to really start really slow and warm your body up, gradually ease into the zone 2 where you're doing the bulk of the run. And then again, to cool down at the end, to gradually slow down, de-stress the body, and help it to transition back to your everyday activities. I shared in that first week that I had an aha moment. I'm not very good at zone 1. I've never taken warming up seriously in my training over the years. In part was I just wanted to get out and get running. You know, I'm always crunched for time, and to take the time to properly warm up, I didn't see the value in it. I did an entire video on this where I shared what I think I learned and some of the benefits of warming up that I found as I reflected on that, and I focused in week 2 to really target hitting zone 1 properly. And I'm encouraged, I guess, that I learned that lesson. I'm continuing with my running to focus on making sure that I'm warming up and doing a better job in those first few minutes to make sure that I gradually ease into zone 2, and I'm getting better at it. So that's the good news. The takeaway, if it's not clear, is warming up is important. It does allow your body to transition to running. We need to redirect the blood flow. We need to redirect the oxygen and nutrients, and we need to get the body to change its programming, if you will, to really be ready for running. And that's what a warm-up does. It allows the body to gradually do that, keep the stress down, and hopefully get the most out of your training. The second type of run that was in the base training phase was the speed play workouts, which traditionally I've referred to as repeats. And this really required a proper Z1, Z2 warm-up for a few miles. And then we get into multiple iterations of short, say 1 minute to 2 minute zone 4 or zone 5 high intensity efforts, followed by a zone 1 cool down, and then you finish that entire workout then with a zone 1 cool down. I think the takeaway I took from this is when you look at a plan like this, at least for me, the mind naturally wants to go to, okay, when I do these repeats, when I do the hard efforts, I got to hit zone 4, zone 5 right out of the gate, and I just got to hammer away. And then when I'm done, I got to get down to zone 1. And I think with that mindset, there's a danger there. That's not really how the body works. I think it's important going into this that you understand that the goal is when you do a warm-up, you're getting the body prepared, you're gradually increasing the heart rate. And then when you do those hard efforts, you're going from, say, zone 2 right up to zone 4, zone 5. It takes some time for your heart rate to elevate up to the target range. And so I think the important thing is to learn, and that may take a few workouts to really get this, but learn at what pace, what effort, what does it feel like in zone 4 or zone 5 to target that specific part of your training. Because when you do repeats or you do intervals, the goal is not to keep running harder and harder and harder until you get to that zone. It's to kind of hit that pace, it's to hit that pace and maintain a steady, consistent pace or effort throughout. And it may take a third or half of that effort, depending on how much duration is allocated to it. I mean, a minute and a half is not a lot. It's going to take some time to get up into that target range, but you want to maintain that evenly throughout. And so this is where a heart rate monitor really helps. I know I struggled with this in a couple of the early speed play workouts. I think in the first one, I went just by feel, if you will, and thinking I could hit it. And I found that I was only getting to the top of zone 3. I wasn't even hitting the target that I needed to, so I needed to go harder. And so I needed to be more diligent in looking at my heart rate, learning what that feel, learning what that pace was for those subsequent iterations or for subsequent workouts. I have a better feel and a better sense for what that workout should look like. Likewise, when you finish that effort, it's going to take your body a time to I guess, cool down, or for the heart rate to drop back down to zone 1. It's not going to be an instant flip of the switch. And so the idea with this workout, I believe, and if you have experience with 80-20 training, you have a different experience doing repeats or the speed play workout, please share down in the comments. I'd love to learn what your secrets are and what your insights are. But this is it's going to take a time for your heart rate to elevate. You want to make sure you hit that range and kind of hold it for the remainder of that effort. And the last part of that effort, it's going to be hard. Your body's going to start tensing up. Your muscles are going to start to tighten up. But you want to try to maintain that even pace, that even effort through there. And then you're going to slow down into a very easy jog, maybe even having to walk and you should see that heart rate in the recovery time drop down to zone 1. And if you're doing that, then you've got a proper recovery before you should attempt the harder effort. The last workout type from the base training phase that I really want to talk about was the fast finish. So in these runs, again, Z1 for 5 minutes, zone 2 for the bulk of your run. So essentially it's an easy run. But then the last 15 minutes, you're running in zone 3. And this is really the threshold training zone. Probably my favorite speed work zone, if you will, or higher intensity training zone. it's the range that I enjoy harder running more, especially as I get older. Zone 4 and Zone 5 are, to be honest, they're painful. They're uncomfortable. And as I get older, you know, mentally, I struggle with that a little bit more. I feel like I'm more prone and more at risk for injury. And, you know, that makes me nervous at this age because it takes longer to recover. And that means more downtime. In fact, I'm dealing with some injury stuff right now that's sidelined me for a week, and I'm easing back into things. I don't believe it's attributed to the hard or higher intensity efforts that may have maybe aggravated it. But I really do believe, as I shared in a previous video, that I was running in a pair of shoes that I was end of life. It was no longer performing the support and cushioning function. It was probably worn and maybe rolling my ankle more than I needed to, and therefore I have some of these feet issues and some of these ankle issues that I'm dealing with. That's not due to the higher intensity. The insight or takeaway I had from this fast finish type workouts in Zone 3, and I looked at the zone breakdown, I was getting anywhere from 6 to 11 minutes of that 15 minutes in Zone 3. Part of that was, again, not being diligent and really going into my workout, knowing what Zone 3 was and properly monitoring that with the heart rate monitor or with my sport watch there. And I think the other lesson learned, and this is maybe the biggest takeaway from this training block, is it takes a few minutes, again, for the heart rate to increase, and I don't want to do it instantly. I want to gradually get to that point. I think that's training smarter. And I got to be thinking, okay, I know the last 15 minutes of my run is going to be this, so maybe starting 5 minutes prior to that, I want to gradually start increasing the pace and the intensity in Zone 2 as I work up to the top end of that range. And if you remember the video I did on calculating your training zones, you know, the tendency as runners is we want to run at the top of that training zone. And, you know, that if Zone 2 and Zone 3 were like, you know, right on top of each other, we would start drifting into that Zone 3, which can be problematic. Most of us run too hard too often, and learning what easy running is and using something like the training zones, the intention is to make sure that we're training in Zone 1 or 2, the easy aerobic range when doing the bulk of our running. But if we're always coming up on that ceiling and flirting with going over that line, then we could drift into that dark zone that we want to avoid. We want it to be easier, or we want it to be hard. And so calculating those training zones, there's actually a little bit of buffer between Zone 2 and Zone 3 to ensure that we don't drift into that. And so you gotta progress through that as well to get up to Zone 3, so that when you hit that 15 minutes, you're right there, or you are now entered into Zone 3. You can get the full duration in that training zone to get the most out of it. Well, that's all I wanted to share as far as insights. But before I let you go, let me remind you that coming up in about a month, we have the next virtual event here on the channel. It is the 24-hour Backyard Challenge. Essentially what that means is on Friday, June 10th, starting at 6 p.m., I'm going to start running 1 mile every hour for 24 hours. This is going to be something I've never done before. It's a unique challenge, and I want to invite you to join me virtually from wherever you live. You can figure out the duration. The 24 hours is the full event. I suggested maybe the half event would be 12 hours, or a third event would be maybe doing it for 8 hours. But you choose the distance. I'm doing a mile. You could do the same or slightly longer, whatever you'd like to do. But showing up at the starting line every hour on the hour and running that distance is the challenge for second quarter or for the summer this year. You can email me at bkskeeprunning at gmail.com and let me know that you're in. Give me a little insight into what your plan is, and then after the event, I'd love to see pictures or your experience, or even maybe a short video clip, and maybe I'll include that in my own video that I share about the event. But that's 1 month away. Also, if you're new here, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you become a part of the Keep Running with BK community. My goal is to get to 500 subscribers by this summer. I'm about 100 away, so I've got some work to do there, and you can certainly help with that. Please share the channel with your friends. The more the merrier, right? And as always, to those who are supporters and friends of the channel, I appreciate your support. If you have any suggestions, topics, or ideas for future videos, please share them with me. If there are certain types of videos that I'm doing that you really enjoy and are getting some really good stuff out, I'd really just appreciate you sharing with me that feedback in the comments. Or if there's things that you think I can do, either going into more detail or spending a little bit more time on, those comments are welcome as well. But until next time, as always, stay safe, train smart, and keep running.